Are there anyone online? 9 online, good. Are we talking?
We just use one microphone. So it's bad. Yeah. They should have both. They both keep thinking using both. Yeah.
I love to hear every little chatter in the room. It's always nice to see neighbors and friends greeting each other and discussing what's been going on in their lives since the last meeting. And welcome. Happy to have you all. In spite of, and also the new people. Who's here for the very first time? Good, well, welcome. I always say for the people who are here for the first time, who might be a little concerned, maybe they missed something. This is not like algebra. If you miss a week, it's not like you're left in the dust. This is every week, you're going to hear a similar kind of message. And so if you come to one class, you come to them all, but we do share different science and answering the questions is different each week. And so it's worth coming for the camaraderie and the support for each other and to help you stay on the path until you get really comfortable with it. It sometimes takes a while, sometimes it doesn't take so long. So today is going to be a fun one because we're going to be talking about food. We all like food. You know, in these classes, we talk about the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And I'm going to turn you over to Scott, who's going to share what he has to say today. And then we'll get on with the program.
Yeah.
For coming.
So those that are new, I'm Scott Wagnon, PA, work at Riverstone Clinic, Community Health Centers of Lane County. And if you're new, the people that are new, do you get the newsletter? Have you familiar with the website? Okay, yeah. So I'll be showing you guys the website tonight because I'm going to be focusing on the meal preparation and planning aspect of that. And then Tamara, our Food for Life instructor, is going to give some tips as well. And before we get started, though, she does have a holiday cooking class tomorrow night here from 5 to 7. And there's still 3 spots open. So you can talk to Tamara when she'll be up here talking. You can contact her if you would like to sign up for that. It's not free because you get to get dinner out of it, essentially, right? But then she is doing a food demonstration, cooking demonstration a week from tonight here from 7 to 8:30. And that's free, part of our 12-week series. She always does that as well. And so want to mention that. And then for the new people, so the bathrooms are in the back on the left-hand side. We have a lending library out there, some other educational materials. And I forgot to grab, I was going to grab I have a whole box of these recipe books from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine patient recipe book. There was 4 back there. I snagged one. I forgot to grab the box when I was coming here. I had a whole box of them. So I won't be here next week because it's just the cooking demonstration. We won't have all that stuff set up next week. But then 2 weeks from tonight, we have Pam's doing the talk on lifestyle and mental health. And so I'll be there for that, and I'll bring a whole bunch more of these so everyone can get one. If you didn't get one, or since you didn't get one, there's 3 people that got it here. But so I'll bring those. That was my bad. I was going to bring the whole box. And then and just want to always thank the First Christian Church of Springfield, the church my mom and my sister go to. It's just a free space for us to do this. So I always want to thank them as well. And so yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. When I go onto the website, the class website, I'll kind of show you for the new people, where to watch the tutorial and be able to sign up for the newsletter so you can kind of be in the know with what's going on. And just for the new people also, that we talk loud. These microphones are for the people on Zoom. So we have people online that attend. And also if you missed last week's class, I'll show you on the website, you can actually watch the recording of it. So you never have to miss a class. If you don't feel like driving here in the dark and you want to just attend online, you can do that over Zoom live. But if you just are busy and you're tired or whatever, you can always just watch the recording. I always post the recording on the homepage from the previous week. And then you'll see on the tutorial where you can go to the class archives and watch the previous classes. If it's been more than a week, then you can go to the archives and watch any of the classes that you want. So you don't ever have to miss out. But of course, we encourage people to get together because part of it is to be here together and kind of create our own community and support each other and all that. So any questions or comments before I go to the back to kind of show you some stuff on the website? Anything like?
One announcement. May 3rd. What are you doing next year, May 3rd? May 3rd next year is a vegan fest. You don't want to miss it. There's going to be Dr. Michael Clapper. He's an internationally renowned speaker in lifestyle medicine and foodist medicine. And then the following night he's going to be at South Eugene High School giving another lecture and doing book signing. So 3rd and 4th of May, keep it in mind.
There's always lots of other activities going on. That's what signing up for the newsletter. You'll always be in the know on all the different activities that are going on, things coming up. So it's not just the classes, and there's just lots going on. So hope you join us. So I'll go ahead and go to the back here. Keep the microphone and will they hear me on this microphone, or should I still use this one? Okay. All right. So everyone can see the livelifestylemedicine.com website here. And so the place to sign up for the newsletter is right here. So you just click on this and you put in your name and email address, and you should receive a welcome newsletter right away. And then every Sunday morning, you'll receive, it's called the weekly update. You'll receive that. And if you don't, I have a little warning here. If you subscribe and you don't get the welcome newsletter or the updates every week, go check your junk file, because sometimes it goes to the people's spam folders. So be sure to check that if you don't receive it. And then the beginning of each month, you'll also receive a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. And if you missed the last couple newsletters, you can click this tab here and you can see the one from October, November. So that's there. I won't spend too much time on all of this website stuff, because you can go down, scroll down the homepage here, and you'll see the website tutorial right here. And I just recorded this a couple of days ago, so it's about 23 minutes long. So I kind of go in depth on everything that's available on this website. So just check out this video here. And then here's the class from last week, the full class on their introduction. So you can watch that. So those are the main things on the homepage I wanted to show you. But now I'm going to kind of focus on the resources, so you can be familiar with the stuff that it has to do with food preparation and planning. So we'll go to handouts from classes first. So click on that. And again, you can watch the tutorial to kind of help navigate this. And so let's scroll down to where the different things are. So meal building basics is here. This is a handout that it'll be hard for you guys to read from there. So I'm not going to click on each of these links. I'm just going to explain what they are. And so meal building basics is a handout I created, probably 11 or 12 years ago. It was when I first started eating this way, I really struggled because my wife wasn't interested in joining me. The first 3 years, I did it on my own. And so I really struggled because I didn't really know how to cook, and I bought cookbooks and I struggled with it. So this meal building basics handout I created with in mind of all the struggles that I had. And so if I had this handout when I started, it would have made things much easier. And so it just talks about how you start with a different starchy vegetable, like either a whole grain or a potato, sweet potato, a basic starch as your base, and then adding vegetables. And you'll see examples of this when Charlie shows pictures of the different foods that you'll see his plates, and you actually see it, which was really impactful. But basically, it's just having a starch staple with a theme, and then adding vegetables to it, and then fruit for dessert. And so it's a really simple, you're not even really following a recipe or a cookbook. You're just it's just food. And so it's a really simple way. If you're trying to get started, it's a good way to think about. And then meal planning ideas is a pretty extensive document I created, and it actually has some recipes, but specific meals kind of tailored to that Meal Building Basics handout, and it does have some cookbook references in it and stuff. So it's like, and it's kind of more traditional food. The meal planning ideas. It's kind of like, oh, if you're used to eating spaghetti or lasagna or stews or certain traditional foods that many of us grew up eating. It's like the plant-based version of some of those. And so sometimes people like to do that to start off because going from from bacon cheeseburgers to steamed kale and broccoli and beans might be a little big of a jump for a lot of people, right? And so the meal planning ideas is kind of more traditional recipes that seem familiar, but they just have basically the animal products removed and more plant foods added in to make it a plant-based meal, but something like lasagna or something you're more familiar with. So I have that there. And then this is a video, this link, and Sunshine has done cooking demonstrations for us in the past and gives top 10 meal prep ideas, or basically tips for meal prepping and planning. So that's a video you can watch at your leisure. And then actually this handout here is from Tamara, who's going to speak to you tonight. And it's just a basic, I mean, you probably can't read it from there. I just wanted to show that it's just also a very kind of staple foods that you start with and how you build upon those things. So I know it's probably hard to read from there, but, and then I have no-oil salad dressings here. There's 34 salad dressing recipes here. And actually 2 of them have oil. There are a couple of Asian salad dressings that do end up having oil in them, but the other 32 or whatever do not. So if you're just looking for some salad dressing recipes, that's there. So those are some of the handouts from classes that are centered around meal preparation and planning. And then I want to go to, so we have recipes, some recipes here. There's some holiday meal planning recipes, a quick reference guide for cooking whole grains, a whole bunch of cooking tips and tricks by Mary McDougall. Mary McDougall is the wife of John McDougall, the late Dr. John McDougall, who's been cooking, actually one of the original plant-based cooks. I mean, she started cooking plant-based recipes back in the 1970s. And so she has a lot of knowledge and tips and tricks there. So you can check that out. There's a few recipes here from different potlucks we've had in the past, but we don't have a lot of recipes on this particular site because there's so many websites and stuff that I'll show you some other resources where you can get just tons, thousands and thousands of recipes. So it became kind of arduous to post recipes here. But then I also have, here's Tamara and some recipes that she had at one of the cooking demonstrations. She makes a cheese sauce, a sauteed kale, a tzatziki sauce. Actually, I make this ranch dressing recipe of hers all the time. It's actually from Kathy Fisher, but she's made it, and because of Tamara, I make it all the time now. So there's that, and then few other recipes there. But let me go back to, let's see. I want to go to resources again, and then go to cookbooks. So here's a whole bunch of cookbooks. So we don't have, Charlie and I, none of us with Eugene Plant-Based Providers, Live Lifestyle Medicine, we don't have any financial ties to any of this stuff. It's just cookbooks and resources that we use. We've referred for our patients to, other people that attend class. And these are links to get them on Amazon if you choose to. Some of these you can get at the library. Also some of these we have in the lending library too. And so this is one of my favorites, Plant Powered Families, especially if you have kids, grandkids. And she's like, Drina Burton is like the queen of sauces. Like, can't even believe, like, my wife occasionally makes, like, for like a duck football game or a Super Bowl or something like that, she'll make it's like a queso dip, but and you look at all the ingredients in this, it's like, how is this going to be queso dip? You're like, you look at the list of ingredients and you put it all together and it's like, there's no way this is going to be queso dip. Oh, and sure enough, it's queso. It's really, really tasty. But yeah, so she's the queen of sauces. I'm a total sauce junkie. So like whenever everyone always would tease me, like when I'd make a salad back in the old days, I'd drown it in ranch, and when I make any kind of dish, I'm always drowning it in sauce. And so kind of a weakness of mine, but some of the, plant-based ones are actually pretty good and pretty healthy. So, so that cookbook, and then there's a whole bunch of other cookbooks here. You can kind of scroll through and check out or get them. And actually I have a couple here because I have like 60% of my patient panel at work is Spanish only speaking. So I have some Spanish resources here, and these are a couple of cookbooks. They're not actually in Spanish in the text, but they're traditional Mexican dishes that are made plant-based and really good. So I've recommended some of my patients get these cookbooks. So that's the cookbooks. And then let's go to, so there's some recipes, so links to websites with recipes and meal plans. So Forks Over Knives, drmcdougall.com, Monkey and Me Kitchen Adventures, the 21-day Kickstart, which comes from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. So there's a lot of good recipes that are free on here and meal plans. And like Forks Over Knives, I think they do charge, I think maybe $6 or $7 a month if you subscribe to them, and they send you basically, here's the recipes for the week, and here's your shopping list. And so they can make it really easy for you if you want. But you don't even really have to, you can find resources that are free, but it is minimal expense, I think, for that one, Forks Over Knives. So that's another. And let's see here. Oh yeah, a free plant-based cooking class is also available through Switch. It's a online plant-based cooking class that's free, so you can utilize that if you want. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to show. Of course, the apps, we talked about this last week a bit, the Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. So that even though this isn't necessarily a recipe or a meal plan, it's just basically, what foods am I trying to get in every day, as many of the Daily Dozen as I can. So that's helpful. And then let's see if there's anything else I wanted to show. So we got books, cookbooks, meal plans, class. Oh, there's also this one here, plant-based meal ideas for traveling. So it's a website where you can, so if you're doing a lot of traveling, what can you do on the road? It gives you some ideas for that. Let's see. I think that was about it. These are some other Spanish resources I have for people. I think that was all I wanted to show you on the website. Any questions about the websites? Kind of just wanted to focus on mainly the kind of the meal, all the different resources that are there for creating meals and recipes and just ideas. Speak out if you have any questions about anything. Otherwise, I don't know if Tamara wants to speak now, or if Charlie wants to show some pictures first. I don't know what do you think? Have Tamara go first? Okay. I can bring her the microphone. I'll give you the microphone, then you can stop sharing and then people can see Tamara. Once I'm done with the website.
There's many more people here tonight than last week. That's good. I may not have enough handouts, but hopefully. My name is Tamara Wilhite, and I've been here just for a few months, actually. And I think this will be my third cooking demo that I'm going to do. And just briefly, the way that I came to whole food plant-based eating is when I was in my 20s, I had started having trouble with my vision. And so I thought, oh, maybe I need glasses. So I went to the eye doctor, and I'd never gone before, but it seemed to be really taking a long time. So finally, he pulled back and he looked at me and he asked me if I had any history of eye disease in my family, and I didn't. And he said, well, I need you to come back tomorrow because I need to run some additional tests. Like, okay, so it's a long time ago, and they shot some dye in my arm, took pictures of my eyes, and as it turned out, I had macular degeneration, which I've never heard of, but is the leading cause of blindness in the US. And so he explained to me that I had this disease, so I went to the KC Eye Institute to see a specialist. And he told me that I'd be blind by the time I was 40, and that there was really nothing that I could do, and specifically nutrition would not help. So I came back and luckily I followed up with my original ophthalmologist and he told me that they had been doing some studies on nutrition at his university and that things were looking good. So he encouraged me to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, stay out of, protect my eyes from the sun, and stay away from cigarette smoke. So when my mom and I were talking to him, it was really hard to believe that I had this disease. So he showed me a picture of a healthy eye, and then he put a picture of mine next to it. And my eye looked like it had been snowed on. And I learned that I have these little fatty deposits on my eye called drusen. So I started reading as much as I could about macular degeneration, and I learned that drusen is made up of fat and cholesterol. And then I started reading about where fat and cholesterol are found, which animal products, milk, cheese, meat, grease. And I was learning that plants don't have any cholesterol and very low in fat. And I realized that I was eating mostly all of the bad foods and really none of the protective foods. So slowly I started changing my diet. And and fast forward, I went to PCRM and was trained in the Food for Life program. And I learned about cancer and diabetes and heart disease. And I learned that preventing and healing all these diseases is the exact same diet that has helped me with my macular degeneration. So I stopped eating meat, cheese, and all animal foods and started focusing on eating the rainbow and trying to get a diverse colors into my diet. And my macular degeneration has not progressed. And now you can actually find studies that show that nutrition does in fact impact eye health and cancer and heart disease and diabetes, as you'll learn from the doctors. So what I like to do is try to help people to incorporate more healthy foods in their diets. And the way that I eat is kind of like Scott was saying. When I grew up, my plate usually had some type of meat, some type of vegetable, usually canned, and some type of starch. But at the physicians committee, we learned to eat what's called the power plate. So on my plate is going to be a whole grain of some kind, a vegetable, a fruit, and no milk. So generally I have some staples that are always available in my house that I base my meal on. I usually eat bowls, and that's gonna be rice. So I have brown rice or jasmine rice, beans of all kinds, black beans, kidney beans, any beans you like. And you can have canned beans or you can make beans easily also. You can boil beans on the stove all day if you're home. You could cook them in an Instant Pot in an hour. You can put them in the slow cooker when you go to work and they're ready when you come home. The other thing, potatoes. So I always have potatoes on hand, red, gold, russet, and you can cook those, you can bake them, you can boil them, you can cook them in the Instant Pot, which is what I usually do. You can even cook them in the microwave if you want. If you have an air fryer, you can cook them that way. Same thing with sweet potatoes. And I just make potatoes a base like I would rice. So rice and beans, potatoes and beans. And then sometimes I'll have a salad of all kinds of greens, or I'll have broccoli or carrots, whatever I happen to have for the vegetable part. And then I like to use what I call toppings. So I get a big cutting board and I just chop up whatever, bell peppers, green onion, radicchio, parsley, cilantro, whatever you like, whatever you see that looks good that day. just chopped up in like little piles on there. So we put our rice, our beans, and then we sprinkle these toppings on, and then a sauce of some kind, which you can make a sauce. Or you can use salsa and guacamole and hot sauce. It just depends on what you have on hand. It can be easy or you can make it. Generally, I make enough so that I'm gonna have a meal now and I'm gonna have a meal or two later. Also, pasta is also really good, and you can usually find organic pasta sauces now that don't have oil in them that are good, or you can make your own. Luckily, now there's the internet, so you can just put on in Google, vegan, low fat, anything, and you get all kinds of recipes. When we had our potluck last week, it was funny because it was the Chat GBT that ended up being like the favorite recipe. They were like, who made this? And what's the recipe? Oh, it was on Chat GBT. So you can find things that way too. And then cookbooks, there's all kinds of cookbooks here. And basically people tend to eat the same things over and over and over. So you just kind of start replacing your meals with whole food plant-based options. So I have the staples that are always at home, rice, beans, potatoes, those are always given. And then when I go shopping, that's when I figure out what fruits and what vegetables look the best. So when I first started eating this way, I went to Winco and I just filled my grocery cart with all kinds of fruits and vegetables. And then like the end of the week, they got thrown away. And I'm like, the trash can's getting more nutrition than I am. And it just wasn't that good. So I went to the farmer's market, and that's where I discovered that apples shouldn't all be the same color, same size, without no blemishes. Like food looks different. It's different, it's smaller, it's all different colors, and everything I got at the farmer's market was so delicious. And so I learned that eating things that are in season is really helpful also. And it's fun to go to the farmer's market, and not everybody can, but I do encourage you to shop. We actually have a lot of local farms. And then also places like Sundance and Kiva and Market on Main Street. They have a lot of things that are locally grown. And then luckily, Costco is starting to have a lot more produce, organic tofu, bags of organic rice and salad greens and things that you can get pretty easily. And then on here, so breakfast, the standard oatmeal, it actually is really, really good. And then I dress it up with berries and nuts and goji berries, and I do have a touch of maple syrup to make it really good. And then you can make a scrambled tofu, so you can do something that's really simple, or you can do something that takes a little more time. Also potatoes, if you cook potatoes and then put them in the fridge, and then the next day you can chop them up, mix them up with whatever herbs that you might like, and then bake them or air fry them, and that turns out really well. You can get chili, canned chili, or make your own. And that will last. You can eat chili on rice, chili on potatoes. Mushrooms are a superfood, and I'll be making mushroom gravy tomorrow. And small mushrooms, you can just dry saute in the pan with an onion, and they turn out delicious, and just add them to your spaghetti sauce. Just put them on top of whatever you eat. Or you can get the big portobello mushroom, and you can marinate it in like a simple soy sauce or teriyaki sauce, and then grill that or bake that. Veggie burgers, there are a lot of recipes now for them. Costco does sell an organic black bean burger sometimes. And then sandwiches, I really like to get Great Harvest organic wheat bread or Dakota bread, and then make like hummus sandwiches. And you can just toast a piece of bread, put some hummus on there, and then you can top it with all kinds of different things. Chopped onions, green onions, or sprouts, or whatever you have, spinach, and just kind of dress it up. Avocado, yeah. And then I do want to talk a little bit about tofu and tempeh. So I have started using, as Charlie and Scott suggested, the daily dozen, because that does kind of help keep you on track of eating the things that are important and not eating, because you can get a lot of vegan junk food also. So doing the daily dozen kind of helps keep you focused, because if you do the daily dozen and you eat those things, you really don't have room for eating the other things. But I wish soy was on the daily dozen. But you can get silken tofu, which is good for dressings, or like I'll be making pumpkin mousse tomorrow, or you can make like silken lemon tofu. I think that is on the website already. And then you can get what's called firm or extra firm tofu. And you can scramble that up and make like a scrambled sort of like eggs type dish that's good to mix with potatoes. Or you could cube it and you can bake it and kind of make it a little bit chewier. It really doesn't have any flavor on its own, so tofu needs to be dressed up somehow. Or tempeh, which is gonna have a more bitter flavor and it's very chewy. So usually you can crumble it up and put that in your spaghetti sauce. Or you can marinate that and like the soy, maple syrup, and then slice it and just grill it. Or no oil, fry it and use that as a sandwich. But tofu and tempeh will add to the satiety of your meals. And then sauces, learning different sauces that you like. I make the cauliflower Alfredo sauce, which is really good, mixed with pasta or with potatoes and carrots. And just kind of use that throughout the week. And okay, I think hopefully that's helpful. Are there any questions about that?
You seem to almost indicate that oils are not so good, but if, for instance, olive oil or avocado oil, those are plant-based, so why are you kind of going a little away from them?
Do you want to ask?
So oil, so when we talk about foods, is this food healthy versus that food healthy? It's like, well, it's always gonna be compared to something else. So if we look at oil, is olive oil and avocado oil, is that healthy? It is healthy compared to coconut oil, palm kernel oil, the other tropical oils. So compared to other oils, it's healthier. But even avocado oil and olive oil is still a processed food. You basically took all of the olives and you stripped out all the fiber, most all the nutrients, and all you have left is the liquid fat. And so, well, so I haven't finished. Yeah, I haven't finished my point. Yeah, so it's still a processed food. And so if you're already healthy, you're not on medication, you don't have weight to lose, you've achieved all your health goals. If you're there and you're still using a little bit of avocado oil, olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, then fine. It's probably fine. Because it's still healthier than bacon, sausage, butter fat. Still a better choice, but it's still just pure fat. So you're better off eating an avocado than avocado oil. You're better off eating some olives than olive oil, because you're eating the whole food. You're getting all the benefit of all the nutrients from that. And so, in general, we try to avoid oil if we can because it is a processed food, and we're better off eating whole, unprocessed foods. Just depends on where your health is, what your health goals are, as to which choices you make. So, yeah, if I go out to eat, I'm going to be getting some oil. So it's not like I avoid oil 100%. I just don't have it at home and don't use it in the cooking, because you can use vegetable broth, vegetable stock, water, saute. You don't need to use oil in your cooking. So, yeah. Other questions? It's a huge difference. So the vegetable broth is just water and you're using it for cooking. So it's not, there's nothing other than maybe some salt added to it. There's really nothing bad in it. I mean, because yeah, but you're not using it you're not using it as a food. You're using it to help cook with. So there's no fat in the vegetable broth, but there is pure 100% fat in the olive oil. So you're better off using the vegetable oil or vegetable stock to saute your food than to use olive oil, because there's a huge difference. 4,000 calories a pound in the oil. Yeah, it's 150 calories per tablespoon in olive oil, 225 to 150. Whereas there's not going to be any calories in the vegetable broth. But if you're worried about getting this, you can make your own vegetable broth and keep the salt out, or you could just water saute. But just using that as an example. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So it's just we look at every single thing in isolation. We have to what are we're going to use this instead of that. So it's always a substitution you're making, and there's always room for improvement with anything we choose to eat. There's always going to be ways that we can get even better. But I think the biggest take home is just, if you're eating the standard American diet, you're still eating animal products, processed foods, added oils, all that stuff. You have a long way to go to get towards the end of the spectrum of a whole food plant-based diet. So if standard American diet's the worst over here, and a whole 100% whole food plant-based diet, totally unprocessed over here, we're all on that spectrum somewhere. And it's just wherever you are, what your health situation is, what your health goals are, your reasons for change, your why, and then how do we achieve those goals? And it's not just food either; it's also physical activity and sleep and stress management and social connection and all the other pillars of lifestyle medicine that we have there. So it's not just the food, but since we're talking about food tonight primarily, it's good to have this conversation. So it's always going to be what change can we make, and that's where consulting with Charlie for free if you need a little more one-on-one support with that. This can be helpful to kind of get you spend a little more time to say, okay, what are you eating now? What are your health goals? What tweaks can we make to your diet and your choices? So yeah, next question. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the question had to do with things like tofu and tempeh. Where are they on the spectrum as far as processed food? So there's always going to be like completely whole plant foods. There's going to be minimally processed, highly processed, ultra processed. So there's a spectrum of processed foods too. And so things like, I would say minimally processed would be things like peanut butter. Because if you just went to the store and just took the peanuts and ground them yourself, and it's just the ground up peanuts, that's minimally processed, because you'd be a little bit better off just eating the peanuts and a couple handfuls of peanuts rather than the peanut butter, because now it's still got all the fiber, all the nutrients. It's just now it's a little more concentrated, so it's going to be a little more calorie dense. It's going to be a little more, not as healthy as the whole peanut. But then same with like the tofu and the tempeh. So tempeh would be a little higher than tofu, because if you ever look at tempeh, it's got like the whole edamame soy bean in there. It's a fermented food, so it's fermented soy basically, and there's still chunks of the edamame whole bean in there, and it's fermented, so it's a little bit healthier it's not as healthy as the edamame, because the edamame is just the whole soybean. And then tofu has just been mashed up, a little bit more processed, so we'd call that still minimally processed. So it's still a healthy food, but not as good as the whole soybean, but still better. And then if you fry it in oil, if you take tofu and fried in oil, now it's completely different. Now it's way more calories, it's actually more inflammatory because it's been fried in oil. It's kind of like a French fry, right? If you took just ate a whole potato, air fried it, sweet potato or Yukon Gold or red potato, air fried it, and just ate that, that's still pretty much just the potato that grows in the garden. But if you fry it in oil, now it's got all kinds of advanced glycation end products. Now it's an inflammatory food because now it's most of the calories are now fat, not the potato carbohydrate. Now is most of the calories of a French fry are fat because of all the oil and fat it sucks up, and it's completely changed the configuration of the food. It's now a processed food, whereas just the whole potato was the better choice. So just other examples of that. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the Willamette Valley, I'm thinking of strawberry season, blueberries, peaches, and my mouth starts watering. Then the late fall comes, and I go to Winco or wherever, and it's a lot harder to find fresh fruit. Where do you go with that on
Yeah.
the seasonal progression?
Yeah. So like Tamara was saying, always buy what's seasonal, but then if you really like, berries, then just get them frozen. So it's like I go to Costco, I get when I make my smoothies and I put blueberries on my oat groats every morning. When I do smoothies, I do frozen, I get the big bags of frozen mango and strawberries and all that, like at Costco. So frozen is a good way to go because it's flash frozen. You can do that with vegetables too. So if there's vegetables you like that aren't in season, you can just get them frozen at the grocery store. And they're actually sometimes even healthier than if you bought them in season, even if they weren't local, because how long have they been sitting out and things like that. Whereas generally when they flash freeze fruits and vegetables, they flash freeze them there really quickly after they've been picked, and then they're chopped up for you. It's also a good convenience thing because if you buy frozen vegetables, then they're already all chopped up for you, so you can throw them in your soup, your stew, whatever. If you're just kind of throwing stuff together in a crock pot or something, it's a good way to go. And so yeah, I would say go with frozen foods if there's certain fruits and vegetables you really like that are not available in season.
And then in addition to that,
Mhm.
I've heard there's some that are kind of coated to preserve them, and others less. How do you, when you step up to the apple bar, how do you discriminate?
Yeah.
Not like you're saying.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So, if you do buy produce that has wax or isn't organic, you can soak it in a baking soda water solution. So, fill up your bowl with water, sprinkle some baking soda in there, and then just soak your grapes, your apples, any fruit or veg that you wanna clean. That's a good way to clean it, and then just rinse it off, and that usually takes care of that.
Is waxy, the waxy growing is disappears.
Yeah, it helps get it off.
And also
Yeah.
how about organic versus non-organic vegetables?
Yeah.
Is that really something there too or not?
Yes, so I do encourage people to buy anything organic that you can afford. And then if cost is an issue, you can look up what's called the clean 15 or the dirty dozen and avoid the highly pesticided foods. That's a good option as well. Organic foods are becoming more and more affordable. But if you can't afford organic, then take a look at the clean 15 or the dirty dozen.
I'm just wondering on the veggie sausage and veggie bacon, if there are certain brands you recommend, because I imagine like the road vary in their process levels.
Yeah, those are, they do vary. The best thing to do is take a look at the ingredients on the package. They are becoming more and more available and they're a good transition food for people. But it's best to try to get away from eating those on a regular basis. Usually they are full of fat. Sometimes they can even have oil. I know they are listed on here, but just take a look. Like the black bean burger is a good option if you can find it at Costco. And then Trader Joe's does have some processed vegan meats as well. that people like. And you can find like tempeh strips that are marinated already, but usually they do have some oil in them. So I would just take a look at the package ingredients. As Scott was saying, they are for sure better than eating the animal product because there's no saturated fat or no cholesterol. But just keep an eye on the ingredients.
Still have a question, Jamie, back there?
No, I was just gonna add that, I understand that there's the absolute and the science of it, but when I use Dr. Grader's app, this isn't a question, when I use it, I count tofu as a bean.
And it's good, like, some of the convenience foods will have oil in them. So it's a lot of it time, it's just like where you are in your transition. So like I was saying earlier, when I was in the back showing you the website, some people aren't ready to go from bacon, eggs, and sausage to groats and steamed kale and beans for breakfast or any meal, right? And so yeah, there's Morningstar breakfast sausage, and there's vegan options, which they're processed and they've got oil, and so they're not ultimately healthy products, but they're kind of a transition. We call them transition foods, and it's kind of like just making a change. Like one meal a week, I'm gonna start switching from my bacon, eggs, and sausage to one of these Morningstar, and maybe I'll do some air fried sweet potatoes, and maybe do a tofu scramble, and so you're experimenting with yourself, and you're just making some changes. So sometimes I'll go out to eat once in a while and get an Impossible Burger just for a treat once in a while, because it's like, I'm not harming an animal, and it's still better than eating a regular beef burger, but it's not ultimately a healthy choice, but it's just something to do once in a while. So so I choose that for myself sometimes. So yeah.
Ken has a question.
Oh, someone out, Ken has a question. So Ken, we can't hear you. You can type it in the chat, Ken. We couldn't hear you. Okay. Were you going to do you want to show some pictures now, Charlie?
Thank you.
So, I came tonight to share with you my favorite restaurant. It's not in Galapagos Islands. It's not in Maui. It's actually in a journey I traveled to in a place called Health. And we visited this place called Health, and we liked it. So we went back again. And we've gone back again and again for 14 years now. The foods have changed a bit, but I'm here to share some of the foods. This place called Health, it's in my home here in North Eugene. So I want to share with you some of the foods. If you could put the first slide on. Now, what do you eat for breakfast? Is it that same old boring eggs and bacon? Or is it something that's a little more exotic? And I want to share with you some of the fun that you can have with the colors of the rainbow that Tamara mentioned. And we try to eat those colors every single day, but we do more than try, we actually do it. And so sometimes our brain doesn't work. There we go. If you look at here, you see a number of different foods. If you have not downloaded Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen app on your phone, I'd encourage you to do it because you'll see many of the foods that are on that app and you'll be able to figure out how could I do this for myself if I wanted to. This may look a little complicated, like some gourmet chef prepared it, but that's not the case. This is actually the first half of my wife and my breakfast. We actually eat this, not together. We each have our own portion of this. When we get done with breakfast, we are really full, sort of like a snake that gobbled up the rat. You know, it took a while for our stomach to kind of adapt to eating more food. We ate more food to actually weigh less. How does that happen? It happens because of the calorie density of the foods. If you're eating foods that are high calorie density, like meat, dairy, and eggs, you can eat small quantities. You don't fill yourself up very much, and you're always feeling hungry. But if you eat foods that are just whole foods, pretty much as grown in nature, the same amount of calories that may fit in the palm of your hand in animal foods, which are about 500 calories, you have to eat about a small volleyball worth of volume, and it fills you up. And, you know, you can just do so much of that. It's hard to overeat when you're just eating plants. And all you're going to see at this restaurant is plants. So let's look at the plants. You all recognize the fruit, oranges and strawberries and grapes and blackberries or blueberries. That's my dessert every single meal now. I love what I eat. I'm 77 years of age and I'm literally jumping for joy. Why am I so happy? Because the foods I'm going to show you tonight are the ones that actually bring you health. Can reverse your chronic illnesses, help you get off of high blood pressure medicine, cholesterol lowering medicine, diabetic medicine. It's totally amazing. And you know something? 14 years ago, before I started doing this, I was eating the standard American diet, the SAD diet. I was kind of the standard American doctor, the SAD doctor. Didn't know any better. I didn't realize there were so many side effects from the standard American diet. You've seen the fruit. Let's look at what else is here. Do you see the beans? They look like they're white. They're not brown. We eat about 3/4 of a cup of beans for breakfast. What's that?
Between the two of you, how much?
Not,
Each.
3/4 a piece. Wow. Because we're eating 3 servings of beans or lentils every day. That's half of a cup is a serving. So we eat 2 meals is what we do for ourselves. But if you wanted to eat 6 meals a day, that would be okay too. You can eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever you choose. But we get in a cup and a half of legumes. That's beans, lentils, chickpeas, split peas. This is not hard. This is pretty easy. You can make them yourself. And my mouth is watering because I watched my wife, and actually I made them myself when she fractured her wrists 6 months ago. I learned how to put in fingers into the beans and make them more tasty. Not really, but put in some dehydrated vegetables and some other spices, and they have a better taste than the canned beans. But we lived on canned beans for many years, our first 6 or 8, 10 years, till my wife started using the Instapot and making these really tasty treats that we love. Now, you see there are a few little pumpkin seeds, the black things on there. She sprinkles a few of them on. Why? She likes them. You know, she likes the taste. They also have some minerals in them. Look at there's greens. There's it looks like a handful of greens, and there's something that's sprouted on top of it. What do you think that is? Anybody? Broccoli sprouts and a little radish sprout. Where do we get those? We grow them. How easy is it to grow sprouted broccoli? It takes about 5 days. You take these little seeds, a couple tablespoons, you put them in a mason jar that has a lid with holes in it. You put the 2 tablespoons of these seeds into the jar. You fill the jar 3/4 of the way with water, and you let it sit overnight, like in a cabinet somewhere. I could keep them in the dark. And after a couple days, they start breaking out and growing. It's kind of cool to watch. If you have kids, they would love doing this little experiment in your house, growing broccoli sprouts. And after 3 or 4 days, they've filled about 1/4 of the jar. And after about 5 or 6 days, you've got a jar full. The last couple days, you put them in the sun or in a windowsill. They don't have to be in direct sun, and they'll green up. They'll have a little green stuff. Broccoli grows even faster. It's a day or 2 less. You'll have a jar full of broccoli. If you put these seeds in and you rinse them twice a day. After they've soaked overnight, you fill the jar, dump it out. 12 hours later, you fill the jar, you dump it out, and you turn the jar upside down so it drains. It's very easy to grow broccoli and radish sprouts. And then at the bottom of this bowl, there are some mung beans. Who doesn't like mung beans? Chinese restaurant mung beans? Anybody? Stir fry? You can grow your own. They grow in 2 or 3 or 4 days at the max. You've got a whole bunch of beans which will last you for 4 or 5 days or 6 days, and you just add that little extra flavor to your salads or to the breakfast. Okay, there's that red stuff. That's radicchio. It's kind of a bitter lettuce. I didn't like it, but I listened to Gregor, who said, this is healthy for you. Look, it's anti-cancer. You don't have to eat it. But I trained my brain. Just like my brain didn't like mushrooms 14 years ago. I pushed every mushroom off of my plate. I must have eaten those canned mushrooms that were slimy when I was a kid. I couldn't stand it. And then I listened to Gregor. And I thought, wow, aromatase. There's no other food that has this in it. And it's an anti-cancer, kind of compound. Maybe I should incorporate a little of that. So we do every day. We have a button mushroom it's buried in this. What else is buried in here? Greens. 2 more handfuls of steamed greens. Now you can use raw. I would do raw if I were living by myself. But my wife, she likes steamed. So I'll do half steamed and half raw. So the raw is down on by the red lettuce, the steamed is underneath the beans. And on top of the beans, for a little extra flavor, for the fun of it, balsamic vinegar, what we use for just our regular dressing. We don't need to use oil, but there are different flavored balsamic vinegars. You getting bored yet? Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide, because this is only half of the breakfast. Those are our 2 servings. Mine on the bottom, you don't see, I put my fruit in my bowl. My wife does not like fruit in her bowl. She gets a separate little dish. We have nuances, differences in how we eat, and we share this together. We chop up things together, we prepare the foods, and you might notice there's a couple tomatoes, and hidden underneath here, there's a clove of garlic, which is chopped up. And she doesn't like too much garlic, so I eat the majority of it, but about a clove of garlic. Yeah.
I'm kohlrabi.
Kohlrabi? Kohlrabi is wonderful with the farmer's market. We had some this summer. It was wonderful, but that's where we find it, at the farmer's markets. And it's a wonderful thing. This is not kohlrabi, it's actually jicama. And you'll find that in the stores all the time. It's a root vegetable. You just chop it and take off the outer skin, and it's crunchy. I love the crunch. It's just sweet enough, unless it's really old and tough. You know, so you just have to kind of learn. There will be certain sizes that work for you personally, and what you like and what you don't like. Broccoli. You see, I've got a fresh broccoli sprig up there. It's not steamed or cooked. I like it raw. She likes hers steamed, and hers is buried in with the other steamed greens that are on it. Notice the beans are a different color. This week, or one of the weeks, we eat beans for about 5 days, and then we make some more. But it's a similar look in the colors. It's just inviting, is all I can say. My mouth is watering as I love each bite. Next slide. Maybe we'll get to the second half of breakfast. What is the second half? What's been missing? We had legumes, we had fruit, we had vegetables, and what was missing? Whole grains. Here's the whole grain. Now there's different whole grains. We started out with oatmeal, the 5-minute cooking kind, the rolled oats or the 5-minute. We did that for 10 years, maybe 8 years. I don't know exactly. A full cup. Why so much oatmeal? Before it's cooked up. Why so much? Because the soluble fiber, it hooks up with excess cholesterol. It hooks up with excess estrogen, with excess toxins, wheelbarrows them right out. So because you're getting rid of these excess nutrients or chemicals, you have 10% less heart attack risk for every 10 grams of fiber. By the way, 10 grams of fiber, it's a serving of beans or lentils, legumes, is 7 grams of fiber. So I'm getting 3 servings, 21 grams of fiber from just the legumes. The average American's only getting 14 grams of fiber. Fiber is so important. We do a whole lecture on it, how it decreases inflammation, it increases your serotonin, it increases your melatonin. These are feel-good hormones and sleep hormones that are important for your health. Fiber is a deficiency in our diet. You will not see a fiber deficiency in this restaurant where I live. In fact, we get about 60 to 70 grams of fiber in what I'm showing you here. Okay, let's go back. That was, we've transitioned a bit. We tried bulgur for a while and it's fun. We went to Peru and had quinoa. And that was really good for breakfast. Cereal, they made it with some chocolate stuff on there. It was really mouth watering. There's so many different grains you could use. And if go back one slide, if you see on top of the oats, which is actually groats now. Groats is the original form of the oat, which before you take the steel blade and you start chopping it up, this would be steel cut oats if we split these. So if you're eating steel cut oats, you're getting the max fiber, or if you're eating the groats, you're getting the max fiber. And then in there, you see there are some chia seeds, the black stuff. You don't see the flax seeds, the tablespoon of ground flax seeds. And you can see the goji berries, fruit. And my wife likes raisins with hers. I leave them off. I get enough other fruit in the day with the prunes. Next slide. What do we use for a milk? It's a plant-based milk. We started with almond. We went to oat. I listened to Gregor. He does soy. I went to soy, and I've been making my own soy milk. It's easy. I have a soy Bella machine. It's like $100, $120. You take the soy seeds and you just about a little cupful, an ounce or something like that, and you soak them, and then you put them in this machine with water, and it just makes the milk. You dump it in a glass container. Very simple. We don't have those containers, plastic or cardboard that we have to dispose of. This here shows you when my wife gets done chopping up the greens and her broccoli and the carrots and the mushrooms, and there's something else in there. Do you know what that is? Sea vegetable. There's 4 different kinds of sea vegetables. One is dulse, one is nori, one is wakame, and the other is kelp. Kelp has too much iodine in it, according to Gregor. So any of the other 3 are really satisfactory choices. We use a teaspoon now. We get this kind of ground up instead of this is seaweed or sea vegetable. Instead of the strips, it's already chopped. So we just take a teaspoon and dump it in for each of us. Next slide. Here's what the greens look like. 2 leaves of collard green, 2 leaves of kale, 2 leaves of chard, or if she may substitute with some dandelion greens or some other kind of stuff. It's a lot of green, but there's a lot of nutrients, and that produces a lot of nitric oxide in your stomach, which relaxes your arteries and lowers your blood pressure and is really a healthy thing to do. Okay, next. This is in progress. I've been chopping, and we put in a little garlic and jicama and a few tomatoes, and there's some grapes. And in my dish, remember, I keep the fruit, and in her dish, she has a separate one. Next slide. We're just showing you how we build this in the morning. Takes about 20 minutes. Next. And then we add the handfuls of spinach and arugula. With that, you see there's mung beans in there. Next slide. We do occasionally eat some processed food. These are bran muffins that my wife has made, and her recipe is around somewhere. I eat one of these usually a day in the afternoon as a snack. Next slide. And then this here is a meal. Again, easy to do. Chop up a little lettuce if you want. Add some rice and beans if you want. Put some corn with it. You see the salsa up there? It's simple. You don't need a master's degree or a PhD to eat fun, healthy food choices. Next slide. Here is what we combine those things. The rice and beans underneath, the greens on top, a little salsa, whatever you like, and add a little corn. And what do we eat for dessert? Fruit. 1 or 2 servings of fruit. Easy. This does not take you an hour to make this meal. Next slide. Potatoes. My favorite. I love potatoes. I love them microwaved. I love them boiled. I love them mashed. However I can get a potato, I'm a happy guy. But potatoes can have their flavor enhanced by just putting a little hummus on it. Different flavored hummuses. Really changes this from, oh, I'm eating a potato again, to I've got a potato with an interesting flavor. And the different hummuses can make those. And if you don't like white potatoes, you get Yukon Gold, or you get the purple potatoes, or you get the sweet potato. Any potatoes are magnificent once you taste them. And then if you don't like this, you add a little spice. Whatever you like, tahini, a Mexican spice, or Italian spice, or any spices you like, you can change the flavor. Just have fun with it. Mix it up. Okay, you see a salad here? It's just a few chopped up leaves of green. You could add a little cucumber if you like. My wife added a few pistachio nuts, and then maybe a little dehydrated cherries are in here. And then that tofu up there. Do you see that? That makes my mouth water, because, man, putting it in the air fryer with her special seasoning spice really makes it a tasty treat. What's missing from this is dessert. Dessert? Fruit. Next. Okay. Yes, you can have bread. It is a processed food. We don't eat it very often, but yes, we do eat it occasionally. If your health problems are okay and you're not having to take a bunch of pills, having some bread occasionally is okay. Try to get a whole wheat bread. In other words, you take the fiber amount, multiply it times 5, and the carbohydrate should be less than that number. So if there's 3 grams of fiber in your bread, there should be no more than 15 carbohydrate. This is a Greger rule. Okay, fruit for dessert, potatoes, a little bean burger that my wife made, a little vegetable, a salad, a little more green vegetable, squash. Next. These are potatoes and asparagus and avocado. It's a really good treat. Next. Tofu and roasted veggies. Next slide. The roasted veggies are easy to do. You just chop them up. You put them on a sheet of parchment paper so you don't mess up a pan. You have no cleaning to do, essentially, because normally you would use oil to keep it from sticking and all that stuff. You don't need to do that. The parchment paper allows you to roast any vegetables you like, and they are tasty. Let me tell you, they are a treat. If you haven't done it, learn how to do it. Next.
Is that okra?
What's that?
Is that okra?
Let's see. This is cabbage. Cabbage, purple cabbage, carrots, squash, cauliflower. I don't know, potato maybe. I don't know what that is. Next. Some more tofu. Next. Frittata. What's this all about? You just take some tofu and you grind it up and you throw it in with some vegetables, and it's a very tasty treat. Next slide. We had it tonight. What's this? You see the green salad, but we had this tonight on the right. What is that?
Pizza.
Pizza. Yeah, you can have pizza, but you need to be careful about the crust. That's probably the one thing that's probably not the healthiest choice, but we do it occasionally. But what's on here? Artichoke hearts and marinara sauce and tofu and onions and garlic and pepper. It really is tasty. It's no cheese. but it's still tasty. Next slide. Mango goes along with it. Next slide. Sweet potato with, I don't know, black beans. Next slide. I want to get through this so we can stop because I've had enough. I think you've had enough of me. We have these lettuce. I just wanted to share with you the colors, the fun you can have with food. Next slide. Next one. That's that potato with the hummus. We do that a lot. Oh, stir fry. You can put in stir fried vegetables, throw in a little tofu, and it's really tasty. Next. There's a salt that adds an egg flavor. If you love that egg flavor, you don't have to eat eggs. You just buy the salt masala or something like that. And then you can make burgers if you choose to. That's a skill that takes more effort and time. And, you know, there's a learning curve to do these burgers sometimes. They come out mushy and, you know, you get frustrated. Try not to do that initially. Try to stick with whole foods as grown in nature. Next slide. These are mise en place. Next slide. My wife made some, I don't know what that is. Tempeh burger. Next, she makes a Reuben sandwich. You see again the colors, how this works. Next, and next. This was at a potluck, a kale salad. Next. Next. Garbanzo beans were in there. Next slide. This has got to come to an end sometime. Next slide. But it's so colorful. Next slide. And then next, oh, edamame. Do you see the green edamame? Those are really tasty. Next. And yeah, put them on a potato, of course. Why not? They're a legume, a bean. Next slide. Taco soup. That's a real special treat. It takes a bit more mastery. You'll have to go to Tamara's class to learn how to make taco soup, but it can be done and it's really tasty. You can make your own chips. Okay, next. And this is what it looks like, the base. Next. Even my dog, when she was alive, knew the value of eating her vegetables. These are broccoli and peppers. And she's licking her chops, literally, because she's so happy. That was way too much fun. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have an insight. So I bought a soy milk machine and then I sorted it out on the counter. And that's when I got desperate and realized all I needed to do was put 2 cups of water in a pan with a 1/4 cup of soybeans and cook it for 10 minutes and just throw that whole mess in my blender. Voila, soy milk.
Good thought.
Super
That works. That's right.
simple.
Kudos to you. Potatoes are one of the easiest. People tell me I can't cook. I can't boil water. You can take a potato, any potato, sweet or white potato, or you can wash it off, stab it a couple times so it doesn't explode in your microwave. Put it in the microwave, cut it open, put in a little hummus or put in some beans, put in some salsa, add a couple of handfuls of green. For dessert, a couple servings of fruit. So easy. Yes.
Is there a location, a site or whatever, where you find spices and sauces? Like you went through all the different menu items you put together, and then you say, well, we put sauce on this, or we put sauce on that, and spices. Where do you go for that?
You go to Tamara.
I have.
You look on the site and you just go to the store and I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna try this spice. I'm gonna try it and I'll sprinkle it up. You have some thoughts on that?
Do you mean
Here.
where do you?
I'm gonna give you this so the people online can hear.
Do you mean where do you purchase the spices?
No, how do you decide what sauces you're going to use for spices? Where do you go for that? In terms of how do you find that?
Okay, if you had an idea of what type of sauce you wanted, you could Google that. Or you can check the cookbooks. A lot of the cookbooks here have dressings and sauces.
And did somebody say Drina Burton was really good in sauce?
Yeah. Yeah,
What is?
There's a cookbook on the website by a woman named Drina Burton.
Okay, that was when I showed you plant powered families as well as sauces.
Yeah, okay.
One of the questions is do you steam or cook a whole cup of groats or steel cut oats? You find that a half a cup cooks up nice and a full bowl. Your bowl might be a little small, I don't know. Use the full cup before you put in the water and cook it up, and that'll fill you up with lots of fiber. Okay? Any other questions?
Are you ever including fermented vegetables?
Do I ever include fermented vegetables? Yeah, kimchi is one of them, but in small amounts because of the high salt content. I used to eat a lot more. Now my wife will put either sauerkraut or kimchi on tempeh and make a Reuben sandwich out of it. My mouth is starting to water over that. It really is tasty, but I use a small amount because of the salt. Any other questions, thoughts? This has been fun for me.
Yeah, and it's 8:30, so if you have any other questions, yeah. Hopefully come back next week for the cooking demo. And smell the food, makes a big difference when you can actually see it, smell it, taste it. Yeah. Here, yeah. We'll be in the fellowship hall out there. We'll just have chairs set up in there. So we won't be in this situation.
I'll be making some sauce.
Yeah, she'll make sauce.
Yeah.
And I learned that from her cooking demo before, and I make it all the time, man. It's so easy.
Cooking classes here tomorrow.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
holiday cooking class is tomorrow, 5 to 7. It's $20 per person. I'll be making lentil loaf, mashed potatoes, mushroom gravy, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin tofu mousse.
Yeah, just right back here.
All meal deal.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Hey.
All
right,
thank you. Tomorrow, see you tomorrow. And.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get, I'm trying to get this working so that we can, some back and forth between the Zoom participants
Yeah.
and the room.
Yeah. Back here on
Sounds like-
So she got pretty big.
So I told her she has to be perfect, she's good, new kid on the block. You gotta be perfect, everything you. Yeah, you can't have done, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all near.
Well,
That's. Yeah, we're at. I live in Greenville. Yeah, 3 days.